Hey, I am Lester Johnston,
And I'm Tony Gray.
and we are going to talk about our project on the Paradise Public Fishing Area and the invasive cleanup that we did there.
So we had a couple objectives here. Our first biggest one was to set back the invasive encroachment. Our initial objective was pretty much just set back Chinaberry mostly, but as we got out there on the site, we noticed a lot more Chinese privet too, which of course is also an invasive species. By setting these invasives back, we want to hopefully bring back the native longleaf pine community by just opening up that space and giving them an opportunity to grow properly. We also wanted to spread awareness of these invasives and their effects on the habitat. We had an educational flyer that we made, and we're hoping that by spreading around the word and spreading this education, that more people are just aware of their environment, and hopefully we can help this project out. We also wanted to just work with our stakeholders as best as we can to reach our objectives given our 10-hour time frame.
Some goals that we were trying to achieve during this project were, removing as many invasives as possible. Our two main species that we went after were Chinaberry and Chinese privet. They tend to dominate most of your areas in the southeast, sadly. But we encountered maybe one or two stems of Chinese tallow, but it was nothing really to do a report on because that's going to be scattered throughout everything. And then also we're trying to educate the public as well of our knowledge and the knowledge of how we should go about treating these things and how the invasives affect everything from the different plant communities to the animals that are in these plant communities and in these habitats and everything that goes into it. And then also working as a group, working with different people in different rankings from different backgrounds, and how to come together as one and get through these problems and come up with good solutions for certain problems.
So there were a couple tools that we used in order to get this project done. For transportation, we used a Kubota, also known as a side-by-side. This was super helpful, just navigating from site to site. We also used this to carry all our supplies in the bag when we actually got onto the PFA. For the things we actually used to hack and square, we used a machete and a hatchet. And the herbicides, of course, were inside of a spray bottle, and that's what we used to spray. And we had two main herbicides that we used. It was Rodeo and Garlon. And all of this equipment was gave to us by the PFA. They already had all these things because they are also using this during their work. For our personal protective equipment, we just had basic pants, closed-toe shoes, proper shirts, and we also had to get on some rubber gloves to prevent any chemicals from getting on our hands and causing damage in that way. Another thing we decided to get from the PFA was a file. Some of these tools are kind of dull, and we figured that having a sharper tool meant more efficient work. And after we did get a file on and start sharpening these tools, we seen that to be true. So those are pretty much all the tools that we used for this project.
All right, so this was our map of the site that we were on, the whole property. We started with right here on the Dove field. We treated a lot of some Chinese privet and a lot of Chinaberry actually. We stayed there for about 2-ish days, and then we moved on up to this property line up here on the north end of the property. And we were treating a lot of Chinaberry as well, with a few Chinese privet patches mixed in there. And then when we came on down here on the south end, it was covered with Chinese privet. And so we were really having to get down there on hands and knees, as you can see right here, to really get down to the base of those stems and, get down to the cambium, the xylem and the phloem, so that you could get that herbicide application in there so that the plant uptakes it. And then these were some pictures from sites 1 and 2 as well.
So now for our actual cleaning up the invasive portion of it. As Lester said, there are 4 main areas that we worked on throughout our days, And we use the hack and squirt method, which is just, taking a notch into the tree, spraying on the herbicide, and reaching that cambium layer to actually get that herbicide going in so it can kill the tree. And for some of the smaller stems, we would actually just pull them up from the roots. That would just completely get them out of the ground. And for all this debris that we did cause, the PFA is going to do a controlled burn. That's how they're going to wipe all that out. I'd also like to point out that as we're doing the hack and squirt method, we would actually make a few large notches in the top of the tree. That way, as we're just standing back and looking across the whole site, we can say, oh, there's a china berry there, but it doesn't have any notches in it. Let's check it out and make sure that we did treat it to some degree. So that's sort of our backup to make sure that we're treating as many trees as possible on every site to make sure we clear out as much as possible.
All right. So how we communicated with our stakeholder, it was mainly through text message. So, I mean, the first day we were there, or going to show up, it was storming all day, and he actually texted us and told us to hold off and that we'll wait for next week because of if the stems are wet and then you spray, sometimes that spray can get diluted and the herbicide won't take as effect as it's supposed to. And also we were trying to make sure we had the correct work times, making sure our schedules align, and also what equipment we needed. It was mainly just PPE that we needed to bring into play. I brought a hatchet, or not a hatchet, but a machete, and all the rest of the stuff they supplied. And then also we had to communicate with cost. So we trying to keep accurate records of how much herbicide we were using and how much the gloves cost and how much the hatchets and stuff cost. But we kind of took that out because they already had it. And then also the spray bottles. I mean, we lost one due to just a malfunction. I mean, they're kind of on the cheaper side, but you don't need anything super special for this.
So as we were going through our project, we did encounter a couple problems and, of course, some solutions as well. One of them is that our tools were kind of dull. It was hard to sort of get through all that slash that was in our way, and that's where the file came in. After sharpening the tools, we managed to cut through things a lot more efficiently, and we figured that was a good thing to sort of bring on board. As Lester said, one of our spray bottles did just malfunction. We believe that maybe the inside was just dirty and couldn't spray properly. And eventually we did get a second spray bottle, but for a time period, we were just down one, so we were a lot less efficient during that period. But we tried everything we could to fix it, but sometimes, little things like that just happen. And on the northern property we worked on, there was we were told about an angry neighbor. The person we were contracting with, Mr. Kelly, he was telling us that he was doing some work up there and was actually brought to gunpoint by this neighbor. So, he told us, he contacted them, he said, hey, we have some people up there, don't do anything weird. And of course, we didn't actually see him, but if we did see him during the situation, we've just been really respectful, just try to avoid any conflict if, as much as possible, because we're just out here trying to, clean up the Paradise Public Fishing area and not, upset anybody. Yes. But those were the problems we incurred and how we sort of managed to counter them.
So looking towards the future, basically, for this property, we're trying to bring back the native environment with the longleaf plant communities. And they're, of course, going to have dominated canopy of longleaf and some slash mixed in there, and then a predominantly herbaceous understory. And we're trying to do this to bring back, your quail and your RCW habitat. I mean, deer are going to be everywhere, so they're going to be here as well. And basically all this herbaceous understory is really going to help all these animals out there. With our invasives, they tend to block out the sun too much, and there is not much on the ground for these wildlife to eat. And that's why they're a big hazard for your wildlife. And also, in looking towards the future, you're going to have several other classes try and do this as well. What they can do is they can come through with their herbicide, the hack and squirt method as well, and knock down any sprouts that are coming up, any areas that we happen to miss or we couldn't get to. they can come back and then take out as much as they possibly can. I mean, it's never going to be perfect, but you can just do the best that you can. And also with fire, it's going to take out a lot as well. And then, yeah.
So this was the sort of educational portion we wanted to add in there. We made a flyer about what we did, or about the species we encountered. I like the title a lot, The Exotic Trees Not So Good for the Environment. A lot of people want more plants out in the environment, which is a good thing. However, I want to sort of tell people that certain ones like these exotic invasives are not beneficial for the environment. So it covers the two that were very prominent in the PFA. You can see here Chinese privet and China berry. It gives some background knowledge on just how they got here and why why they're not the best plant for the environment. It also gives you some ID information so you can actually be able to go out there and see and know what you're looking at. But yeah, it pretty much just tells people that why these are bad for the environment. Even though they are green, they are plants. Why these may not be the best things out there. We should really promote more natives and things like that. And of course, after they read all that, there's another link that brings you to the UGA website that gives more information about that.
Well, thank you for watching our presentation. If you have any questions or concerns, please contact us. We're on campus all the time. And of course, we share a class together. So if you need us, just give us a holler.
Thank you all.
Thank you.